In my 19 years of existence, there have only been 2 fully original and unique 2D Mario games released, and the last time that a 2D Mario game came out was when I was 8 years old. That is remarkably depressing. Technically, Nintendo counts the Mario Maker games and Super Mario Run as official releases, but they don't feel like the true 2D Mario experience. Mario Maker is very loose with a focus on player-created levels, with Nintendo's own design levels taking up a fraction of the playtime, as well as just not being anything too spectacular. And Mario Run is a mobile game. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the Mario game I was waiting 11 years for. A 2D Mario game that was really fun and creative. While Tears of the Kingdom is my personal pick for Game of the Year, I don't think I had as much fun with any other release this year as I did with this game. It has easily become my favorite 2D platformer. Yes, I prefer it to Tropical Freeze. I'll accept my death now. This isn't going to be a super long video. I don't have too much to say about this game. I just wanted to round the year out with a cozy little video talking about something I really enjoyed. The presentation of this game is pretty great. It's easy to dunk on the new Super games by comparing how inferior they are by comparison, and while it is a ton of fun to do that, the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of aspects of Wonder that are a direct evolution of those games. The visuals are vaguely reminiscent, but the character animations are far more expressive and lively. The backgrounds are gorgeous and really bring the world to life in a way that no other 2D Mario game has. Every frame of this game is a visual treat. The music, as with every mainline Mario game, is an absolute jam. The main overworld theme feels like a direct continuation of the music from the new Super games, but instead of the occasional boss, the vocals are the primary melody. It's scarcely used, relegated to a few levels in the first world, which is a bit of a shame given how good it is. The underground theme has a sweet bass line now. The snow theme has a wonderful Christmas vibe to it. The forest theme gives me cut the rope vibes. Please tell me I'm not the only one. I love the beach theme. The water theme is the closest track to sounding like it came from the 4 games I've mentioned a few times in this video, and it's strange that it's basically reserved for this one level. Quick side tangent, I find it weird that there are hardly any water levels, which in any other 2D Mario game I'd welcome, but the Dolphin Kick badge actually makes them a lot of fun, and it hardly sees any use. Anyway, I love the Bowser-related tracks, particularly the Airship's rock tune, and the Palace's sinister yet also somewhat playful tune. And it's not just the level music that's really good, the world map music is also pretty good, with the highlights for me being Fluff Puff Peaks, Shining Falls, and Petal Isles, which is basically a slightly inferior Lake Lapcat. The Wonder Flower themes are also pretty good, if only I was a good enough writer to talk about their quality with a different set of words. The main one associated with it I'm not too fond of. It's good, but compared to the other bangers, it doesn't even come close. Going Up is amazing. The Metal Cap reference actually got me like that one meme, and you can't just talk about the Wonder Flowers' music without bringing up the enemy singing tracks, which are each amazing and special in their own special way. Good writing. I adore them, and they're some of my favorite moments in the game. The controls are borderline identical to what came before, which is fine because they're basically perfected in those games. It's my #1 defense why Tropical Freeze is only the second best platformer. I just prefer how Mario feels compared to DK. What makes Mario and the gang feel better than the 4 games you all know and tolerate, though, is the more expressive animations, as mentioned previously, as well as the little musical accents that accompany their movements. When you jump, the sound effect is a bending guitar string, emulating the sound that the original NES game made when you jump. Whenever you ground pound, it's a drum roll with a crash of cymbals when you land. There's something about these two things that make performing these actions so satisfying, and I can't quite put my finger on it. The setting and story are also pretty neat. Wonder takes place in the Flower Kingdom, as opposed to the Mushroom Kingdom, and unlike the Sprixie Kingdom in 3D World, it feels distinct and not just a differently named location that's otherwise exactly the same. The Toad stand-ins here are called Poplins, a copy-paste NPC spread through the map running shops and being too depressed or exhausted to clear the way until you pay them. Bowser has turned himself into a castle, and his plan doesn't involve kidnapping people or whatever, instead taking a page out of Doofenshmirtz's book with his epic musical wonder, something foreshadowed with the litany of musical-themed wonder effects from throughout the game. The best element of the Flower Kingdom, though, are these guys. When they showed off the talking flowers, I was worried that they would either be annoying or worse, would help you way too much when attempting to find secrets. They weren't like that at all, and they honestly add a lot of charm to the game. I don't think playing this game would be nearly as fun without these guys and their comments. They can be legitimately funny, like their strange obsession with the flavor of goo in this level, and they can also add to the fun of discovering secrets. I wanted to get up to this one part in the ceiling as Drill Mario because I thought there was a flower coin hiding up there, and when I got through the gap, the flower waiting there said, "Well, aren't you clever?" before the pipe revealed the secret exit flag, enhancing the joy of finding it, especially since there isn't a flower at every secret in the game congratulating you for how smart you are, which would have made it patronizing. It's just this one simple moment that made me appreciate its inclusion in this one spot. The only time I got annoyed was during this one part in the second wall kick badge that I kept failing at because I suck at video games, and it kept repeating the same thing every single time I fell. But even then I didn't mute the flowers, I just muted the game as a whole, because I didn't want to hurt their feelings by turning them off completely. Honestly, this is the only real problem with them. I think they should have been more selective of repeat dialogue, with only ones that are helpful in finding a secret or whatever being repeated, and the one-off comments never repeating. Otherwise they're amazing, and we can't be friends if you mute them. Badges are one of my favorite new additions that I hope they stick with for future entries, as they do a lot to change how you approach levels. They're broken into 3 different categories: action, boost, and expert. Boost badges are my least used, and I only obtain them because you need to for 100% completion. They're mainly there to help people out who might need it. Stuff like always starting every level with a super mushroom, or an extra bounce to save you from falling into a pit. There's one I actually use from this category though, that being the sensor badge, which alerts you to secrets because I struggle to find some of the more tucked away ones. Action badges all augment how you platform through the levels. The first one you obtain, the parachute cap, gives you a gliding ability, which I use for most of the game. Not only does it help you correct jumps and whatnot, but it also allows you to climb up walls with wall jumps as long as there isn't a ceiling in your way. I even got to the top of a flagpole the incorrect way using this method. The other badges give you a higher jump that lets you float in the air for a bit, gives you a higher jump if you time it correctly, which is pretty useful for the desert levels, gives you a second wall kick for some extra height, a hook shot, and fast dash, which is by far the most useless badge in the game because it makes you a little bit faster, and I honestly couldn't even tell the difference. The best badge in this category is the boosting spin jump, mainly because it's a double jump, and when used correctly, it's really satisfying. The expert category contains only 4 badges, with one of them only being an expert badge because of how difficult it is to get. Jet Run makes you run really fast at the cost of never being able to stop running. It's useful for the wiggle races and if you want to speedrun levels, though there isn't much incentive to do so since it's not like there's a best time or an indicator that a level was beaten with an expert badge, incentivizing really using it. Spring Feet makes you eternally jump, with the benefit of being able to jump higher than usual. It's fine enough, I suppose, but outside of the levels where it's mandatory to use, there's no reason to equip it, since the other high jump options don't have any real drawbacks, though I guess they also aren't as satisfying to use either. The invisibility badge sucks. The benefit is that enemies can't see you, and the drawback is that neither can you. There's never any reason to use this badge outside of the levels requiring it, and it's mostly just really frustrating, though I'll complain about that later. I'll get to the sound off badge later in the video since it's necessary to cap off that section. The core gameplay loop is a bit different from previous 2D Marios by bringing in a bit of 3D Worlds progression style. You still go from the beginning of a level to the end of a level to get to the top of a flagpole, but just ending a level isn't enough to progress because you need to get a certain number of Wonder Seeds, and there are 3 ways to get them. The first is by ending the level, the second is by completing the Wonder Flower section of the level, and the third is by buying one. Though unlike Super Mario Odyssey, you can only buy 1 Wonder Seed per area. This encourages level exploration, but because the total requirement is relatively low, it means that you can still miss plenty while you go through the game. Wonder Seeds are the only thing to find in the levels that are tied to the main game progression, though there are other things to find in the levels that add intrinsic value to exploring them. While most of the things taken from New Super Mario Bros. Were heavily changed to be less constricting and safe than those games, there's one thing that Wonder brings back that hasn't changed a whole lot. The best thing those games added to the series were the star coins, which have been brought back wholesale here in the form of flower coins. The game removes a timer from previous entries, and the levels are also fairly short, so it really encourages you to explore the levels for secrets. The flower coins can be hidden in pretty devious spots too, so you have to really pay attention to find them all. Beyond completion's sake, they don't lock anything substantial behind getting them, since they just give you 10 coins to spend in shops or to pay the Poplins to do some labor to advance. They're helpful, but not necessary to beat the game regularly, only being necessary to unlock the true final level, which is a good compromise to make for less experienced players. Secret exits in most Mario games are generally associated with advancing to future worlds, but Wonder uses them to unlock a secret path in the specific world itself that leads to the special world warp point, since with how the game is set up, it doesn't make sense to skip worlds that you would need to go back to anyway. The only time they take you to a different area is when they take you to Captain Toad's hiding spot. Worlds 3 and 5 work a bit differently since you have to go through the same Poplin house twice to unlock the special world warp point, but otherwise this is the main purpose they serve. It's similar to how Super Mario World uses them, with it using the different individual world pathways instead of Star Road. World encourages you to find other secret exits in the base game by locking some progression in Star Road behind having found other secrets in the regular levels, while Wonder encourages you to find secret exits in other levels, since it only lets you have access to one level at a time. And I think this is my favorite implementation of them in the whole series, since it encourages you to really look through every level of every world for a potential secret. It's the most fun I've had with secrets since Super Mario World. Another big evolution from the previous 2D Mario games is the world map. No longer is it dots connected together with lines. You have free roam to move around in this space. It's not just a superfluous change either. They do some neat things here. The Sun-Baked Desert and Fungi Mines hide levels that you can only access by running into them in the overworld. Deep Magma Bog is huge with a few splintering pathways. The palace is towards the top layer, but there aren't enough Wonder Seeds there to access it, forcing you to go to the deeper layers. The first three worlds are comparatively simpler. Pipe Rock Plateau is flat, and Fluff Puff Peaks and Shining Falls are focused on an upward ascent. Shining Falls and Fungi Mines also change up the progression, with you needing to reach the last house to beat the world, rather than finishing a palace, which adds a nice bit of variety to the game. I like how the game handles progression in general, with you being able to visit the last three worlds in any order you want, provided that you have enough Wonder Seeds from the Petal Isles. There's a lot more freedom in how you approach the game than even I expected before the game's release. It feels like a course clear 3D Mario game in how it's set up. As for the levels themselves, even disregarding the wonder effects, there's a lot of creativity and variety in their basic design. There's so many new enemies introduced in this game, some of which only being included in one or two levels before it moves on to something else, meaning you're always encountering something new. There are Roller Koopas who skate along and jump paths, Outmaways who kick ice blocks, Seeker Bullet Bills who track the player and stick to the walls after they land, Slide-Ons who are basically baby thwomps who slide along the floor when it tilts, Skedaddlers who spit large seeds at you before running away, Aarons who are very tall boys able to be knocked into enemies and able to collect coins, which led to a very sneaky set of flower coins in one stage, Firework Bob-Ombs who can explode enemies and blocks above it, Hoppos who roll along the ground and if they get stuck in a hole they act like a trampoline, Hoppy Cats who jump when you do, forcing you to think before you commit to a jump, Hot Rocks who perpetually heat up and cool down, Moths who open their mouth ridiculously wide to eat stuff, Melon Piranha Plants who spit out melon seeds that you can jump off of, Missile Megs who are longer versions of Bullet Bills that you can platform off of, with them losing altitude once you jump onto them, Moving Doors which successfully recreated the feeling of seeing the piano from Mario 64, Tailies who shoot spike balls at you with you being able to simultaneously gain altitude and defeat them by pulling on their vines, and those are just the guys I can name off the top of my head. The levels each also have different obstacles and elements that keep you on your toes. You have a moving platform that requires you to hit the above blocks to add to the front of the platform since the last block on the platform is continually falling off. There are platforms that roll around that you can either be on the inside of or the outside of with a hole in the middle that you have to jump over to prevent falling out of it. There are levels focused on angular bounty platforms, holes that shoot out of special blocks, a beach level with clouds that fill the water, creating a waterfall that you can climb, platforms that fall when you or an enemy makes contact with them a certain number of times, a level where the front of the platform you're riding on has a Hoppy Cat you can use to destroy blocks and kill enemies, a level based around pulling strings to move spinning fireballs along a track, goo that you can move through with the cardinal directions that can also be destroyed by the conchs above. Color Switch Dungeon is a level that has you zipping around hitting the on-off blocks to open different pathways and change the direction of the zip tracks. It's a strangely designed course by usual Mario standards, almost feeling like a high-quality Mario Maker course. These are just the tip of the iceberg. If this was all that Super Mario Bros. Wonder was, I would still consider it to be one of the best Mario games, but they went even further with the Wonder effects. The first level is fine enough, telling you to expect the unexpected and all that with the pipes moving along like inchworms. Then you get to Piranha Plants on Parade and they start singing, and that's when you realize that you're playing peak fiction. And from there, they throw a ton of strange and engaging ideas at you. While not every level has a unique effect, there's still quite a bit of variety, and the repeats usually justify themselves by testing you in a different way compared to the other times it's used. Stars will fall from the sky with you needing to collect them to reset the 10-second timer so you can get the Wonder Seed. There'll be a stamp of bulrushes that sweeps the regular exit away. Mario will get really tall with elements falling down whenever he crouches. You'll float through space. On the airships, Bowser will send missiles at you that you need to use to destroy blocks that are in your way. You'll have to platform through a level where the blocks will come into existence to the beat of the song. You'll skydive having to avoid different obstacles. You'll suddenly be tested on your knowledge of the game with a quiz. This one got me to laugh, I love it. The perspective of the level will suddenly shift to a top-down view that you need to navigate. The speed of the level will increase or decrease, etc. I know that was a lot of just explaining, but I think it highlights how jam-packed with ideas this game is. I didn't even scratch the surface with how many enemies, obstacles, and wonder effects there are, and now they change up the gameplay in interesting ways. Every time I jumped into a level, I was excited to see what they would do next, which is a feeling that before this game was reserved for the 3D titles, and that is a remarkable feat in and of itself. There are other level types, and they're more hit or miss. Break time levels are short and sweet, with you having to complete a simple task for a Wonder Seed. Maybe they could have been a little more substantial, but they're fine for the most part. Badge challenges rely on the quality of the badge itself. For instance, the invisibility badge levels are horrible. but the others, like the boosting spin jump, offer a fun and engaging experience that offers a nice test of your skill with the badge. The Wiggler races are a ton of fun, and I wish there were more of them in the game, and while they didn't need to go that hard on the music, I'm so glad they did. The other two level types kind of suck. KO Arenas has you needing to beat all of the enemies in a certain amount of time, and while it's not the worst thing in the world, and watching speedruns is incredibly satisfying, I almost never found myself enjoying them and would put off doing them for as long as possible. Magma Flare Up is trash and is probably my second least favorite level in the game. I hated every second of it because killing the enemies isn't satisfying, and this one stupid room ruined pretty much every single attempt because they keep going back in their pipes in the most inopportune time. And pretty much every Surge Party level is complete garbage. The idea behind them is neat. 5 hidden tokens are dotted around the room that you need to find. The problem with them is that they are hidden in the most obscure corners that you will never figure out without a guide. This one stupid question mark block under the second waterfall I couldn't even find after looking it up. It sucks and I hate it. They take forever to do, and not a single second spent in them is fun. The level does encourage you to get your friends involved, and while that might make it more fun, I don't think that designing a single level type with primarily multiplayer in mind compared to literally every other level is a good idea. Even the KO Arenas don't feel tailored for multiplayer over single player like these do. Before I got to play the game, the two things I heard was everyone hyping up Piranha Plants on Parade, which was warranted, and that the bosses sucked. So I went in with those expectations, and I gotta be honest, I think the boss fights in Wonder are a step up from the usual 2D Mario shtick. We all wish that they wouldn't use the Koopalings and thus curl the next finger on the monkey's paw, as we only have Bowser Jr. and Castle Bowser. Bowser Jr. will get stomped on once, and then the Wonder Effect will change the fight. First by changing the size of Mario and Bowser Jr., then by changing the terrain, then by changing the placement of the water in the stage and adding a few hazards, then he gets clones and the aesthetic changes. It's not amazing, but I do think that people were heavily over-exaggerating how bad it actually is. The final boss with Bowser is a little better. Now, Wonder came out in the same year as Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom, the final bosses of each game both sitting in my personal top 10 favorite final boss fights of any Nintendo game, so based on those expectations, it can be said that this fight doesn't quite meet them, but I think that it's still a fun fight based on its own merits. It's all based around timing your jump with the B to damage Bowser. It lands within the Nintendo hand-based fights as one of the best. I think this musical-based fight is foreshadowed pretty well throughout the game, with the different enemy singing levels and the different platforming challenges that are set up the same way. It's definitely in the upper half of Bowser's boss fights, and it acts as a fitting finale to the game. Now, while I love this game, there are two major problems that I have with it that are a bit harder to ignore than what I brought up earlier. First off, this game got so close to dethroning 3D World as my favorite Mario game to 100%. But then they just had to tie standees into it. It can revive dead players when they touch it, which is very useful in single player, let me tell you. You can buy them for 10 flower coins, though you can also get duplicates, so it's better to wait until you get to the special world where you can guarantee getting a new one for 30 flower coins. There are 144 in the game, and you need all of them to beat the game. That's a cool 4,320 coins, or about 4 1/3 runs of getting a full set of 999 flower coins. Gee, thanks developers, you really shouldn't have. While it isn't quite as tedious as getting all 999 moons and all of the outfits in Super Mario Odyssey, it is still a real drag on what is otherwise a great experience. The other major problem I have is the final test, and I know it's a skill issue, but this level really bugs me. Every other Special World level was a little tricky, but they all felt like reasonable challenges. The Wonder Gauntlet felt like the natural conclusion to the game, and it was a ton of fun to complete. This level is just not fun. There are individual sections that are a blast. The boosting spin jump section feels so good to get through. The wall climb jump section is pretty good, and I love the crouching high jump section, but the rest of it was just frustrating. Every time you die, you're sent back to redo the same section you already completed prior to the checkpoint, which would be fine if the challenges were fun, but the ones that I didn't already bring up were either annoying or a bit of a slog to get through. And the biggest sinner of them all is the invisibility badge section. I want to sit alone in a room with whoever thought this section was okay. I just want to talk. It's not even the worst thing in the world, and if I had enough practice, I probably could have gotten it without lucking my way into it. But the problem is that I can't even practice the section because I have to go through the previous 3 sections every single time I die. So I was never able to get any better with this part. And screw whoever broke the previously established pattern of having a checkpoint every 3 sections. I hate you and hope you eat wood shavings instead of cereal for breakfast. I love Champions Road and Darker Side because they're fun challenges to beat, and I really can't say the same thing about this game. At the very least, you get the sound off badge for completing it, which replaces all of the game's sound effects with acapella versions, which is the hardest I've ever laughed at any Mario game. It caught me so off guard. Doesn't mean I'll go through all that pain and suffering again to get it, though it did ease the wounds afterward. These two unfun elements make me unsure if I'll ever 100% it again, though I guess only the future knows. That's about all I have to say about the game, so let's wrap the video up. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a 2D Mario game I waited 11 years for, full of so many creative ideas and offering a real breath of fresh air after the 4-game streak of pure blandness. You can feel the passion behind this game in every element of its design. Removing any and all deadlines to focus on coming up with compelling ideas absolutely paid off. Apparently they came up with over 2,000 ideas for this game, so if we were to get up to Super Mario Bros. Wonder 4, I honestly wouldn't mind too much if they had just as much care and love poured into them, with just as much creative energy. This game is everything I love about 2D Mario blended together, and it has become my favorite 2D platformer, and that's not just the recency bias talking. It feels nice to look forward to the future of this side of the Mario series after a decade of being held in suspense. And while I can't wait to see what's next, I also want to take a bit more time to really soak this wonderful game in.